Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Way to Value podcast. I've got a whole group of folks today, and I'm the only one that's not an IG or high I, so I'm going to be herding cats today. But we're here with our dynamic duo from the Hill Institute over at Furman University, Mr. Bryan Davis and Mr. Eric Cooperman.
What's up?
We're so excited to talk to them, just all things entrepreneurs, students, testing. We've got a lot of topics we're going to try to get to today. So first of all, Eric, Bryan, thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are busy, but we're looking forward to chatting with you.
Love being here.
Our pleasure.
And like always, also have my partner Marty on the mic here with me as well. Hey, Marty.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's good to have these guys here. And, as we talk about leadership and entrepreneur with the Hill Institute, I mean, no one better at helping to train and really bring that message to the community. So I think we're going to have a great conversation today.
It'll be solid. I just hope we can stay semi on track. So we'll be looking to you, Dale.
I know. I'm the only non-IGI guy, so I'm going to have to cut some of you off sometime, I'm sure, and go. But let's start, guys. Tell us about the vision behind the Hill Institute and what you guys do for maybe those folks that aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, sure. I can kick this off, and I'll pass it to Eric for some stuff. So back in 2018 was when the Hill Institute vision really was created by one of our trustees, the chair, Robert Hill, and President Davis. It was really this data-driven problem of looking at all the students that are wanting to come into the universities, which is a shrinking, population in general. But 60% of them, over 60% said, we want to have innovation entrepreneurship be something that we can participate in, learn in, be immersed in the university experience. And at the time, Furman didn't really have that as a distinctive track per se. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. So that was like the genesis of the Hill Institute. And I got pulled in 2019, helping get it started and growing. And really, we came out with this mission statement, which we still hold by today, which is, can we create entrepreneurially minded leaders who are equipped to transform their companies, their communities, and the world? And Marty, you're kind of touching on that and some of what you were saying to us, but that's what we're about. So that plays out with students, plays out with community, plays out in how we position the university as a leader in this space. I can kick it to Eric real quick for your version of kind of programmatically some of the stuff you're leading, some of the stuff that's happening.
Yeah, I'm a good test of the vision and theory of does it work? Can it work? I was in hospitality for 24 years. Had no idea what entrepreneurship was at all, and through the Hill Institute's GVL Starts program was able to launch a tech company in 9 weeks. So really what the Hill Institute does, not only for the community, but also for the students, is provide the resources, the connections, the network for and the resources to be an entrepreneur or create that kind of vision of what innovation is and can be.
God, I mean, I love what you're saying. That is 60% of the students, I didn't think it would be that high, but it sort of gets into the mindset. And again, I'm sort of been always the storyteller. And when I was at Clemson University, I never was a really good student because it was all about, to me, reading, book, and regurgitating. And it's stuff I hated doing. But what I loved is I took a class on entrepreneurship. And it was run by an entrepreneur, came into the business school and taught this class. And we actually went out into the community. And I actually worked for a lawn care company that did all the landscaping. At the time was the Greenville Braves.
Oh, yeah.
Was the original in Malden. And they basically didn't know their numbers. They didn't know spreadsheets. And I actually taught them how to do Excel and how to do numbers. And it was one of my favorite classes, which then launched me. And so to me, that entrepreneurial mindset doesn't necessarily mean that you have to start a company, but you have the mindset. So I think talk a little bit more about that, because I love that piece.
So it ties in beautifully to what you just said, which is experiential learning.
Yeah.
Like how you learn, we think of it as sometimes like, how do we flip those switches? And the best way that you have an opportunity to flip that switch of having somebody learn a little more of what it takes to be an entrepreneurially minded leader is like you throw them into the deep end on some stuff. There's some loose boundaries, but like you could fail. It could be a dumpster fire, and we're okay with that. But we want you to have experience to really get your hands on and learn. So for instance, something Eric and I came up with a couple of years ago, would be, let's say when students or even startup founders are working with, this is just be as a small example, under the mantra of thinking about innovation entrepreneurship as a life curriculum by which we can, introduce and engineer experiences that can teach that. So an example would be, I don't know, call it start of Greenville GVL starts. What'd you say? Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes into the program. We do the same thing with some students sometimes. We'll have mystery boxes on the table. And Eric, what do we tell them to do?
Get out and sell. How do we equip entrepreneurs with the real essential tools to get out? And we want to. I think entrepreneurs, we want to design, and we're comfortable designing. Yeah. But when it comes to being in front of customers, we sometimes lay flat, right? And how, as a program, can we set the tone early that you need the answers not in this room? You need to be out in the community. You need to be finding the answers out there. So we literally we give them a box of junk, and they have to go out into
15
the community.
minutes. Whoever makes the most money wins.
Just sell. And the great thing about this experiment, which it
was for the record an experiment that could have gone poorly,
the teams end up finding out, and the conclusion usually is it's not about the product, it's about you. Because everyone goes and we have like rubber chickens they're selling on the streets. And how do you sell a rubber chicken to a passerby? You don't. But if you create a story around that that doesn't have anything to do with the chicken, you're going to make money.
Right.
And that's the same thing happens in entrepreneurship.
I don't need a rubber chicken, but I will help you in your story.
Turns out 100% of Greenvillians downtown don't need rubber chickens. So that's not what we're selling.
But that's interesting because by design, actually, it's not interesting. By design, we believe you win with people and that everyone's in the people business. We start every
100%.
client engagement with, what industry are you in? And I always get these weird looks because people are like, wait, you're a consultant, you're in here, and you don't even know what industry we're in. But it's because they'll go around the room and they'll say, oh, I'm in the rubber chicken manufacturing business, and we sell rubber chickens, and we're in the entertainment. Very few will say, we're in the people business. But I think that just proves the point that even if you're selling rubber chickens, you're really in the people business. Can you tell that story? Can you relate? Can you get them to get on your side and buy a rubber chicken?
And there's a lot of funny stories you can imagine, but I use that as like the tip of an iceberg kind of example of the ways in which we try to really throw in real stuff to shake it up for people and then have time to reflect on what you learn. One of the things I should have mentioned, it ties in, and Marty, I think you're asking about this too, is like, how do we think about what we're developing and the humans we're working with, which is probably the most simple way I say it sometimes that we talk about as a team, is these 3 pillars of development. And we really just touched on one, but it's critical thinking and self-discovery. We kind of cram those into one. But giving you experiences to learn like, hey, I think I'm going to be a great salesman. Sometimes it turns out you do that and you're like, holy smokes, I hate this. Or man, I'm really good at just like critical thinking, going through like strategy and all this. I didn't realize I was, but you don't know that until you try it. And a lot of these kids, they get out in college, including myself, was like this. And you run through a couple of jobs. You see it all the time. You run through a couple of jobs, and that's you learning what you like and don't like. We want to do that while we have them here in the undergrad space, and then give them time to really push and reflect on that. So that's the first pillar, critical thinking and self-discovery. Second, storytelling. That's what we're real. I mean, that's a huge one. If we did nothing else, I can tell by your faces, maybe we unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if nothing else, we go to that. So we can expand more on that one. I mean, some of the stuff we're talking about. The last one is grit and hustle. And that's not to create a hustle culture per se, but it's connecting what we call, or the saying that my granddad used to say all the time. It's like, it's amazing how lucky I get when I work hard.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me. And just like saying, hey, like in the world of content creators and all this viral stuff and things like that's not normal for everybody. And you do have to figure out, and those people too, like you're putting in a ton of stuff behind the scenes to make these things happen.
Right.
So like,
a lot of times people don't see it.
Yeah.
Everybody, there was a talk about storytelling. There was one with Gary Player, and he was hitting golf balls, and a guy next to him was watching him hit golf balls and said, I wish I could swing like you. He said, no, you don't. He goes, I hit 3,000 golf balls till my hands bleed. I walk inside, retape them, and go out and hit another 3,000 golf balls. Like, are you willing to put in the work?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all this stuff is great. until you have to do the work. And that, I think, separates really the good ones from
So
the other ones.
let's back up a little bit, because those three pillars are very interesting to me. And again, I'm sitting here, I keep repeating this, but I'm sitting here with three IGs, right? Selling, and you guys love it, and this is what you guys do. So it is, I think, a challenge. So let's talk about, we test. We're big into testing. I don't say testing. That assumes pass fail.
I know what you mean.
Assessments.
I know what
We
you
like
mean.
to assess strengths, weaknesses, what you
Yeah.
love, what you don't love. Are you guys into that in your program? Do you guys use any sort of assessment? I know we've worked with you a little bit on some assessments, but as far as your founders, are you helping them? So I guess maybe dive into that a little bit more about how you do that.
I think where we're sitting right here is a testament to the assessment of students, of founders. This is the Furman Innovation Lab, right? So what this does for us, and especially our students, is we have an award-winning business school. They're incredible. But when you take students off campus, they tend to shut the books, engage their kind of thinking mind, and say, okay, well, I have all the theories. Now let me put them into action. And when they're in the real world and they have to act upon what they've learned, they start to realize, yeah, I am a salesperson, or no, I am definitely not a salesperson, and I want to be behind the scenes. Yeah. And that's when I think like the real world learning begins with entrepreneurship. In the potential founders, is they learn a lot about themselves very quickly when they're thrown into a situation.
So yeah, the yes and on that I would add as well is like back up to say like some of the stuff you guys have done, which our team has sat through and it was awesome. I'd go proudly on record to say that, of like going through the disc, the working genius, and then like really putting these two together and like really unpacking how you each tick, how you work together, understanding like, oh, I know why this person on my team's acting like that. And not in to compartmentalize and write them off, but all in the spirit of like, how do we understand each other better, work with each other better? That is a huge part of what we've started doing with our founder programs as well. We'll run them through, maybe it's DISC. We've done Working Genius a few times now, thanks to you guys, and turned us onto that. But we did that even with some high schoolers for a new program we kicked off this summer called the Innovation Academy. Like before they come in, we did some of that so they understand who they are. And then you guys came and helped facilitate some leadership training with them. Like that's been really helpful. And I think for some people, like a lot, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys do this all the time. My anecdotal, non-scientific, non-data driven, comment would be like, I bet a lot of people more than not, like don't do any of those, don't really know where they are. They have some self-awareness of what they think they are, but they don't really know motivational factors, personality. Like they just kind of exist.
Yeah,
but I'm almost turning that question back to you guys. Like we're doing some of that. What do you guys see in your work on that?
Yeah, not as many as you think would. A lot of we have a saying: "Don't leave your team to chance. Build it by design." A lot of folks are still leaving it to chance. And when you talk about your three pillars, my head instantly went to critical thinking. Well, that's our IDs and Working Genius. Storytelling, those are our G's and our I's and DISC. Our grit and hustle, those are our T's. I was almost in my head going, I guarantee if you gave your folks the DISC and Working Genius and sent it to me, I would be able to tell you which ones are going to thrive in which one of these pillars and which ones are going to struggle.
Yep. Yeah.
It wouldn't be 100% accurate, but it would be pretty close.
Yeah, I just think that self-awareness piece just starts to change how people view and think of themselves. And so a lot of times we can be surprised by it. Like we see certain things in people and we're like, wow, I didn't realize that invention piece. We know the galvanizing, but we didn't know, or the tenacity piece. And I thought what was interesting, we did the high school students. You would think that, well, it's going to change, or that maybe they're not shaped. And if you think about when we tested them all, it really came out to who these people were. And what we noticed was who were the tenacity people, who were the galvanizers, who were the inventors. And so these are just things that are innate in our personality. And if we can get it out early, then we can see where we can develop those. So that's why, again, to me, don't leave your team to chance. And we see it again, like salespeople all the time. I watch people put somebody in sales, and somebody takes the job and then fails, and then they wonder why when that person doesn't want to pick up the phone. They're not comfortable in that conversation. So
They don't want to take the rubber duck downtown.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sell it.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's the challenge for us as inherently educators at heart, right? In terms of how are we engineering and architecting something to achieve some learning outcome, right? And so part of it is taking the people that aren't have no natural propensity for sales and stuff and saying hey, totally cool, get that, but we're going to push on that dial a little bit. And that's
well, and I think you should, because what's interesting when we look at personality doesn't mean you can't do it. And that's where people start to push back is, well, yeah, I can do that. It really is, do you love to do it? Again, can somebody go out if they know a grade's tied to it, or I can win a competition? They may be wired, not that they like doing it, but they were driven by the competitive side. But if they had to show up every day to work, they'd be like, I hate this. So
I talked about self-awareness in one of your critical pillars. That's all this is, right? If I know I'm not a natural IG, well, okay, now I understand that. Again, doesn't give me an excuse not to do it. But the more you understand it, the more you can apply it. Guess what I can do? Okay, I'm just going to turn my G knob up. I almost talk to it like knobs, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff are knobs. And when you're aware of it, you can say, okay, I need to turn my G knob up. I got this rubber duck. I got to go downtown. I don't love it, but I can do it. And I'm going to turn it up and I'm going to go do it. Where you get in trouble is if I had to do that every single day for the rest of my life, I'm going to get burnt out. But I can turn it up. I can turn it down. And to me, that's where the awareness and applying what you learn really.
But also when
adds value.
things heat up and stress is on and pressure is on, what are you going to fall back on? It's your core strengths. It's not, Billy Joel sings The Stranger, right? Everybody has a face that they can put on. But when things heat up, that mask is going to come off and your traits are going to shine right through. How do you lean into those naturally so you don't have to wear that mask? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I said it and I talk about it in my book, is my daughter was a prime example where she went to school, graphic designer, super good at designing. And I could never get her to even do a logo for our boat, for our house. And she went to work as a graphic designer for one of the best companies, and she was doing successful. And I'm like, how's it going? And she's like, it's going okay, but I'm not real happy. And when we peeled it back and she finally took the test, one of her working frustrations was invention. And so as a graphic designer, she had to wake up every day and work in it. And what she was a discerner and an people person. And what she found was to move over in their live events team where she could understand design and graphics, but every day she could pick what should go on in the event and how to please people. And that's now her career. And, can she design? Absolutely. Does she like to do it? No. Yeah. And so we see that every day where sometimes young people might get into a career, they're not feeling, satisfied and whatever, and they might start quitting when they don't know why. And so as a leader, if I can start testing my people, then I can help them become a better version of themselves and happy. And instead of losing somebody, I may just find the right seat on the bus for them.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to shift gears a little bit because we're talking about students and we're talking about this and spending 20-ish years in the HR recruiting ops world. When I see your program and see people come through this program, I light up because as a recruiter, I'm like, if we can get a few of these folks on board, because not all of them. Let's face it. Again, I'm just anecdotally. I don't think all of them are going to launch and be successful.
95.6% will. Yeah,
there we go.
Right. But that leaves 5% that I could hire for my company, and they already know how businesses run, what's important, how to sell, critical thinking, storytelling. I am so far ahead of the curve if I hire one of those students. And what I hear a lot is, this is what I love hearing. You just can't find good people.
I hate
Don't
that.
light Marty up. He's going to get started.
It's so hard to find good people. I'm like, oh no, it's not. It's never been easier.
It's never been easier.
Where to look. So maybe just talk about that and the recruiting piece. And Eric, I know you mentioned before the cameras started rolling, you had some thoughts on recruiting.
Recruiting, hiring, just being unemployed nowadays. The game has changed, the rules have changed, and the process has changed on how to find a job. And those job seekers, the process of applying an AI and how it really just feels like you're throwing a resume into a black abyss. And then on the other side of things, when you're a hiring manager and you're trying to find someone, how do you find the right person? Are they out there? And what is the best process of connecting with those people that have great talents that want to work for you?
Yeah.
It just seems like there's a disconnect nowadays.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this ties back to some of the stuff I think we're touching on too, of like, yes. So if you're in the hiring side, how do you look? Like, what are the things and experiences that we can provide you as a student or somebody we're working with that would be like, make you stop, if you don't know the person already, that make you stop and be like, hey, tell me about, looks like you were running a company over here for a little bit. Tell me about that. That's not on every resume. Hey, it looks like you were training with one of the top 3 largest angel investment groups, Venture South, that you did special fellowship with them in undergrad, and then you awarded this competitive like, that sounds interesting. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
And so like we start tracking these outcomes too. We have these insane, like in the, let's say about 70 to 80 or so students that we get really deep with every year that have some intimate level of experience programmatically with us. Almost all of them have an incredible outcome.
Yes.
And Furman students in general are, I think, really, really high caliber people. But of the ones that we have intimate knowledge of, almost every one of them lands, quote, their dream. We've had 3 in the past year, Eric, I think, that have written back, emailed to us, didn't ask them, just to say, hey, the experiences I had here, I have goosebumps saying it, because this is what we want. This is what we hope. And then we're like, oh, like what I had here got me my dream job at, investment firm X or with this company
That's awesome.
that I never would have thought about if I had just like plowed through all my schoolwork,
Yeah, it was funny. For a while, I did some mentoring for students, and I ended up dropping out of this one program because they weren't showing up. Like, all they wanted was to build a resume and say, I'm part of this stuff, and not do the work. And that is like,
you get
to me,
fired if you do that.
yeah, the
with
red
us.
flag. And
Yeah.
so to me, building some of these deep experience, like you said, working with Venture South, doing these things, I really believe today it's never been easier to hire and find these people. And if you want a job, and again, we've never had anybody ever do this, but if somebody actually walked in the room and said, here's my disc profile, this is what drives me, instead of talking about strengths and weaknesses, where we come up with some canned
Whatever.
sort of bullshit answer. Can I say that? But they say, look, my strength is I'm a high I, I'm a people person, and I make decisions fast. So if you need somebody that's very cautious and slow moving and very like compliance driven, I'm not your person. Yeah. But if you in an environment that we've got to move fast and be out in sales, I'm your guy.
And I've told friends, they've called me, hey, look at my resume, and I'll say, I won't even look at it until you take this. I make them take both, and then I will tell them to take the results in and take their job description. Yeah. No one does it. I don't. It's this weird mindset of
That's interesting.
Yeah, I love my friends to death, but none of them have taken me up on, if you walk into an HR, an interview, and you have the job description and you have your disc and working genius, and you can say, well, right here, these are my strengths, which means I'm going to be able to do this, 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 and this. I might struggle here, but I have a plan for why I'm going to struggle there. Who's not going to hire?
And a box of cookies
That's
and a bottle of wine.
Really well thought. Yeah. I was going to just like add on really quickly to some of what we're touching on in terms of like recruitment, and we're thinking about students and even just the local economy and stuff like that or ecosystem. There it is. I said it. I waited at least 10 minutes before I said it, but we got it out.
Yeah.
Bingo board. If you have your ecosystem entrepreneurial bingo board out, you can put ecosystem on the map. But one of the things to talk about is, we were chatting about this yesterday, Marty, even, of what are we doing from talent that we're recruiting in, let's say at Furman University, and then hopefully placing them locally. So it's like 71 to 72% the past couple of years of students that come to Furman or come from outside the state of South Carolina. And we don't have a huge school, right? 2,600 students, right? Think about if we had 30%, 20% of new students that were pulling in from other places of the country, their families, like all that stuff that starts to come and hang out here and want to do business here. Whether you're doing a startup or not everyone's going to do a startup. That shouldn't. But like, if you just get engaged and work here, plug in here. And so it's no accident when you see the stuff Eric and I are doing and how our team is doing when we show up in the community with programs, you're like, why is Furman doing that? Like some stuff that's not quote unquote directly for the students. Now it accrues to the benefit of them, but we do it because we want to be really engaged in the community. And the more we're engaged in the community, the more the students that come here feel like they're plugged into the community. They have connections. They have all that social capital. So like even like with startups in the area will ping us and be like, hey, I need somebody to help me with random project X. Who are the best ones? Guess what we do? We go to programs or those 70 to 80 students I was mentioning earlier, and we send out emails. We'll literally just do like a blast email and be like, hey, first 3 to respond, get this interview.
Yeah.
And then like we know those are high caliber of the highest caliber. And so we're helping populate those experiences.
And there's no better, and I love that thought. This is definitely bigger than Furman.
Yeah.
When we look at our programs and the 90 graduates of the students that we've had and the 163 that we've had at GBL Starts, then we look at Next Gen that has 100 founders there, and Village Launch that has 250 founders there, and the Platform at Greer, which is 100. Then you're starting to build up this network of 600 to 700 founders just within the upstate alone. Now you're talking we win together. How do we take those resources, the founders, the hiring, like whoever's in that bubble, and utilize and get those people hired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I want to just go back to something you earlier said, and it just keeps ringing it loud in my ears, is that entrepreneurial mindset. Again, just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're starting a business, you're high tech, you're taking on money. It's a mindset. And as a owner of a company, wherever I am, if I'm a Fortune 500 company, if I'm a small startup, having people that have an entrepreneurial, which means they understand how marketing works, how finance works, how, I always said, I had a sign that said ABS, always be selling. Because in every organization, every idea we have, if I'm an engineer, I may not be selling the product, but I'm selling my idea. I need to be able to tell a story. I need to be able to hustle. I need to be able to do that stuff. And so to me, this program that you guys provide should not be measured based on startups or funding. And I think we fall into that trap. It's measured in the quality of students and how we get their jobs.
Yeah.
And we're also at a different stage
point.
too. We're a whole different stage than say like a Next, that those companies are scaling. We're top of the funnel. Right? We're engaging those students that may or may not even know that they want to be an entrepreneur or can have the ability to start a company. So we're pouring our resources into them to give them the confidence and the just to help stand up a company. Yeah. So that I think that is the importance of I'm gonna let really a secret go.
All right.
And people always ask, what was the number one key or secret to success at Advoco? When we were able to scale and grow our company, and you know what it was? It was tapping into the co-op program at Clemson University. Because
in Furman, we
weren't here yet. We weren't here yet.
I'll kind of tease him, but we hired a lot of Furman students. But in that co-op program, what was unique for engineers that business people don't have, I never had, was that they did 3 semesters where they had to go out and serve. That was part of their degree.
Yeah.
And so to that point, engineers were almost being forced to go out and work and do that stuff. And when we interviewed them, they were head and shoulders above other engineers who didn't have that program. And so to me, I think from a business standpoint, what the Hill Institute's doing is you're almost creating that co-op program. Like we should actually do more formalized co-op program, because that's where we gain that experience. We make a little bit of money. But to us, when we tapped into that group, we crushed it. Not only was our cost structure better, our people were hungrier, and
the ideas were probably flowing.
Yeah. I mean, people loved it.
Yeah, and to put a bow on the kind of the recruiting topic that we've talked about, to me, the Hill Institute, it's if you're in the business program at Furman, we all take the same classes, right? We all have the same teachers. We probably are all part of the same. So how do you differentiate yourself from an employee point of view? I think the Hill Institute is a great way of doing that. Again, that's where I would go as a recruiter. And Eric, to your point, recruiting has changed and everybody feels like it's this black abyss. From an organizational point, that's an opportunity for me, right? If that's how everyone else is doing it, guess what I'm doing? I'm coming in here and I'm going to build relationships because maybe I don't need 70 people, but I want access to those 70 to pick my best 5.
And that's the best way to get a job right now is through people.
Yep.
Like the hiring process, jobs.com dead,
that's been
monster.com dead. You're going to hire people. Who do you have?
That's
Marty,
been true for
Dale,
100 years at least, and probably be true for another 100.
The key to the secret to success is we're in the people business.
Yeah.
We're in
That's
the people.
it.
I mean,
it's not new. It's there.
It isn't.
Talk to me a little bit about one thing we see companies struggle with: execution. Tons of great ideas, tons of great products, but execution is a challenge. You know, what's the Hill Institute's philosophy around teaching folks how to execute? Because at the end of the day, to me, it's an execution game. The ones that succeed will execute, and the ones that stall out won't.
Yeah. We probably have our whole stories. We'll avoid going down story lane where Eric and I would have specific people we would call Jane or John kind of thing. But I would say in general, you know, not every student that signs up to a program of ours makes it through our program. And we're not ruthless, but we're very intentional on, like, you're not putting in the work, you're not executing. This is the real world. You're cut.
We have a fail fast mentality, and we'd rather the students realize that quickly than going through 3 years of, like, I have a business idea, I'm going through this. No, we'll put you through the ringer. We'll put the pressure on, and you'll fail if you're going to fail, but we'll make it happen 2.5 years early.
That's awesome.
I mean, and you know, hopefully we come across warm and fuzzy enough. We're going to do it in a nice enough way.
That, right?
And it's not a secret, but we're really intentional. Like, ideas are awesome, guys, but if you're not going to do anything with it, then that will matter nothing to me. If I'm the business person in the room, that's actually annoying at some point if you're just the idea person. The other thing we talked about on a more practical side is, like, what are some of the frameworks and tools that we can work with founders in particular on? And one of the things we've really honed in on is this triage framework. Just like you would at the ER. If you come in, right? Like, what are the things that are most important that really matter? Hey, you're having heart palpitations? Oh, you better take care of that. Hey, you're looks like your femoral artery is hanging out. We probably want to fix that. You know, but, like, what are those, like, real hot, like, ER kind of points for your business? Take time to create that before you get into the thick of just, like, things are happening. But, like, how do we do that? Create this intentional scoring sheet that's weighted, and it doesn't work perfectly every time, right?
No.
But and we all know that things get thrown out of left field. But in general, if you have something that can be a home base, you're like, what do I do next, or which thing is more important? Run it through this triage framework, score it, and it forces you to be objective. I've done this myself,
and the founders are scoring themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there is a differential between where they think they are and where they actually are. So it's a great part of the triage.
That's been a great way to, like, organize execution.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, we love that because one of the things when we talked about execution, we have something we do called working, broken, missing.
Yeah.
Right? Working, broken, missing. What we're really trying to do is get to the triage because, and I'm kind of thinking through this, that we always start with what's working. So we get on the board with the team, what's working. And that really is just to get positive endorphins going, getting people. Because if you start too much on the negative, the next thing you know, everybody just starts
you
feel
deflated.
You never get out of it. You feel deflated. So we always start with, and we did this just even in software projects, like, where are we in the project is what's working. So you get everything going, and then you'd say, okay, what's broken and what's missing? And within that list really is when they get open and honest, like, our sales is not operating properly, or too many bugs in the product, or we have not really identified the right market fit, or whatever it is. And so to me, I love that kind of triage, because as an entrepreneur, as an owner, as anybody in business, to be successful, back to that self-awareness piece, is you have to be open to understanding what's not working. But we don't like doing that.
So I have a philosophy. This is probably what you're thinking. I have this philosophy called fresh eyes. And when I've onboarded employees.
Is that patented, by the way?
It could be, yeah.
It is a
patent pending.
Registered trademark of the Hill Institute as of this moment, common law rights.
I love when new employees come onto the team and you kind of sit them down and say, hey, you're going to experience things that you probably have never experienced before. Some things, some processes are probably broken in your eyes, and there's a lot of efficiencies that we probably need that we don't see. We're blind to it all, but you're walking in with fresh eyes, and you're going to see it all. It's all going to be right in the chaos, the turmoil, the stupidity of what we're doing. Pen it all down. Write it all down. Give it 30 days. Don't want you to say a word, but write everything down for 30 days, and then we're going to have a conversation, and I want you to download me on what you see, because those fresh eyes are so important at the early stage of a hiring.
Bryan, that ties into something you said a little earlier, and it was kind of a throwaway line. You said, I hope we're coming across as kind. We had a whole discussion, an episode about.
Oh boy, we're coming back to that.
We think being unclear is being unkind, and a lot of times people think, just to your fresh eyes, some people will be like, well, I see all this stuff, but if I tell them I'm being unkind, we think it's the opposite. By not telling us that, you're being unkind, because again, there's things we should fix, right?
Yeah.
You guys telling students early on, hey, you're not doing the work, you got to go. People say, well, that sounds unkind. No, you're being kind, because now they can go try to find something maybe they want to put their passion. So I think it's a mind shift people have to make and a lot as leaders, I think we have to give them permission to make that mindset. Yeah. But it's okay to be unkind in the typical sense if you're helping us get better, if you're helping us succeed, if we're helping you succeed.
It's so much of that's back to just a very common thread of this whole conversation of just like, what is good leadership? And you talk on like setting the tone, right? And things like that. Like for me, and we talk about this a lot too. I mean, there's so much of the psychology around it. Like, am I vulnerable? Do I admit when I mess up? Can I own that? Do I like that? Your whole team or whoever it is, wherever you're looking for, if you're not, like that's really smelly. That's very pungent. Everybody gets that one way or the other, right? And so like, I think as leaders and as the students and founders are working with, like, we all know this. It's never about being the man and being right. Like, that's not it. It's way more about like, man, I don't know. The older I've gotten, the more experience I've had, the more willing I have been to be like, man, I don't know, but I bet we can figure it out.
And how disarming are those 3 words when you're in front of professionals?
I need help.
And you are so vulnerable where you can say literally, I don't know.
I don't know.
Intuitively, as humans, just like, dropping a purse, everyone's going to go and start running to help that person with their stuff. But if you say, I don't know, it tends to be everyone will come to run and say, I got your back. I can probably find the answer. I can find some resources. I don't know. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, and Ryan Holiday made it famous in the Stoics. He wrote a book called Ego is the Enemy.
Yeah.
And we run into this all the time because our ego, fight or flight, right? So we're either in control or not, and our brain is there to protect us. And so to open ourselves up and to say, I don't know, I may be wrong, let's dig into this, like I'm not the answer person, really battles those egos. And if I don't have the answer, well, then I won't be needed and I won't be viewed as a leader. And actually the greatest leaders are the most humble. And that's that whole, and it's almost funny, the theme of kind of this conversation, a lot of it is the contrarian point of view, right? To be unclear is to be unkind, is contrarian, right? To put our ego aside and to say, I don't know, is contrarian. And so to me, part of that leadership thing is teaching people that humbleness, self-awareness. And when you do, I think that's when great things happen.
Raise your hand if you like being in a room with the smartest person in the room. So to your point, like, those folks that
never been me ever. So
for those folks that never say, I don't know, my guess is they're always have to be the smartest person in the room, which, no one likes working with that person.
No. Now, I've always enjoyed being in a room with everyone that's more experienced than I am. Now that's power.
Yeah.
And if you look at it in a positive way, if you are the smartest person in the room, find a new room, right? They would say if you're the strongest person at a gym, find a new gym. If you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room.
So I'm gonna go off a quick tangent, and you can just bring me back home, and we can say maybe we're just gonna cut this entire sound bite
and make it a part 2.
We're talking about clearness, kindness, all this. Like that's a big theme. I think that. I don't know all the data, so I can't. This is very anecdotal, like Bryan's opinion only kind of thing. But I'm curious you guys' opinion and view on this too. is you talk about the startup world and startup ecosystems. Whatever the data has always been hovers around the 90% of new companies fail. How many of the people that are working with them are honest enough? And I know sometimes things just happen. I've been a part of some stuff you can't predict just happens. But could it possibly be that too many people early on are like, woo, that's so fun. It's a great idea. You got this, Timmy, or whatever. And you go, and then you go, and you go, and you get to the point of inevitability where you never should have started that in the first place, but nobody ever told you that. And you just kind of got the rah-rah all along. And that's really easy to do as an ecosystem that's excited about startups. So like, I'm going to be careful like how I talk about this, but I think it's a good point we need to be thinking about.
Ask my mother, I can do anything in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my mom might be like,
I'm thinking about going to Mars, Mom. What do you think? You can do it, son. You got this.
Yeah.
So there's this interesting data point.
I'm so glad you brought this up because it's something that's been bothering me about the community and there's all these mentoring programs and everybody is, you go boy, you go girl, you go. And I'm sitting there in these meetings and I literally ask the person I'm working with, do you want me to cheerlead you or do you want me to tell you the truth? I'll ask this question directly to them. And based on their answer, if they're like, well, I want to know what, then I'll cheerlead you all day long.
Yeah.
But if you want the truth, and I watch it all the time, is most entrepreneurs don't want to hear the truth and they don't want it. And again, I feel like I'm being unkind. And so a lot of times I back off, but there's so much because of the rate of failures. Like the odds are so stacked. Yeah. I say starting a company is like pushing a train up the hill. I mean, you are constantly pushing and pushing, and if one slip up, that train's just going to run you over.
See, and I think you're onto something. You have like a whole nother podcast that maybe you guys can create. Is the something that we just don't talk about failure. Like how cool would it be to interview companies that have failed? And get their stories, because we always want to talk about the successes. Oh wow, you had a $50 million exit. That's incredible, or what have you. Like what happens to the 90% that fail? Let's hear their stories. Let's talk about their failures, and that's something that we do within our program. Is we embrace failure. We talk about failure at the beginning of every single one of our programs. Is all right. Who failed last week?
We've messed up plenty of our own programs. We're like, all right, not doing that again. That did not work.
Marty, was it Voco your first company that you started?
Jesus, I wish. Man.
How do you spell loaded question?
I've been through many a failure, and I was sort of did well. I was kind of middle class. I always made good money, but I never really succeeded. And I went through 3 failures. I mean, I owned a dress shirt company, and that epically failed.
I did not know
crap,
that.
yeah. We made dress shirts, and I was a salesperson and was trying to sell this company, and I was trying to sell the guy, and he's like, well, we're in bankruptcy, and they're selling off, so I can't really buy any software from you. I'm like, so what would it take for a guy like me to buy the company? He's like, here's the name of the guy in Greensboro. Mm-hmm. So I pick up the phone, I call him up, and he says, here's a bid package. And so we got a bid package, and lo and behold, we won the bid and got, hey, you now own a dress shirt factory.
There you go.
While BMW's coming into town, like apparel's dying. And it was a great learning experience. A lot of things went on, but I tried a lot of stuff. That's the one thing I was never afraid to try. But it took a while.
And I think just business is hard, right? Like, you have to get the right team. You have to supplement your strengths and weaknesses. And I think a lot of companies, we talked about earlier, execution, right? I think a lot of them just leave it to chance. Oh, I have this great idea. People should just buy it. And they just almost try to force it down your throat versus what problem are you solving? What's the story behind? I think that's the great thing at Advoco. We had a story. We didn't just try to sell you software. We wanted to solve your problems and make you the hero of the journey. And I think sometimes with founders, we celebrate the rock star founders. So I think there is a lot of ego, and they want to be the hero of the story of, look, I started this company, I grew this company, I exited this company, versus no, let's make our clients the hero of the story. And eventually, Marty has a saying, and I believe in, is if you help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. But I don't think a lot of people have the patience to do that.
Yeah,
That was
I
a
love
great
that.
Zig Ziglar. I mean, he was my hero in the early days. And so the other thing to me, and this is the other part of the entrepreneurial world, is why are you in business? And the problem is, if you think it's because you're going to make money, and this is all about, I'm going to get freedom, like you're not getting any of those things. To me, if I look at really successful people, it's because they fell in love with the problem and they were obsessed to solve that problem.
Totally agree.
And in my case, I was working with this software package, and the service teams just kept screwing it up, and people would call me and say, your product doesn't do this. And I'm like, yes, it does. And so you kind of either got to put up or shut up. Is why I started Advoco. Was I got tired of people saying it can't do something when it could. And I was tired of people spending money on software and then being told it couldn't or failing. And that became my why.
Yeah.
And we built a company visioned on every day we woke up to help companies be successful. And once that was our driver, we hit failure. We hit all kinds of roadblocks. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're going to get kicked in the teeth. Like if you don't think you're getting kicked in the teeth, like you're in the wrong business. And, I was told that at one point in time, and I write again about this in the book, that the CEO of the company we were implementing their software for said anybody caught talking to me would be fired, that I was stealing food out of their mouths of their wives and children because I was doing services in their services group. And I mean, overnight, all of my leads, everything stopped. And you talk about like not having any teeth and showing up. And to me, it was the most defining moment in my career as a leader. And what we did at Advoco is we didn't let it define us. And what we ended up doing was revamping our marketing program, and everything else made us bigger, better, stronger. And I think that was really a turning point.
And it's a great point, because that's what I love. That's what I'm loving about By Design and partnering with you guys, is we're investing in people. And that's really what I want, right? Like, how do we help people be successful? Because Working Genius proves it. Everyone has two geniuses, right? Everyone. Like, I don't care who you are, what you're doing, you have two. And our key is, how do we help them find it, understand it, use it? Yeah. Both from the personal and the organizational, to unlock the potential. Like, I don't know the stat, but
and then I think
like
also
30% of companies operate at full potential or something like that. It's not very many.
Yeah.
How do you unlock it? It's your people. It's your people. You guys are doing it. We're doing it.
And you set up a culture where not only you understand who you are and what your geniuses are, but you get everyone else in that culture trying to understand who the person across the table is. And I think that's what you guys do really well, is that kind of understanding and culture of,
And who are the most important hires on a startup, right? It's those early first 2-ish, 3-ish, 4-ish. And how many people just say, well, I don't know, I'm going to hire Bryan. He's my buddy. He always wanted to
mistake.
they hire.
They would actually come agree to work for this money, whether they're.
My cousin's roommate's unemployed. Okay, we'll hire that person.
Awesome.
And that's how we start. That's how a lot of people start hiring, and you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. One of the things I want to touch on, I don't know how we're doing on time here.
We're IGs. We can always divide
So
it.
this will probably, we're about an hour 5 now on the podcast.
It's 50
for the
minutes.
record.
We might have to divide this into 2 parts.
No, I was just going to say, one thing that maybe is important I think about, I'd want to say, is about the why. When you talk about the work we're doing at the Hill Institute, and at least speaking for me personally, now Eric doesn't care about people, so he may be totally different, but
he's 100%. I disagree.
Yeah, he just doesn't care. But but for me, talk about the why. And I've thought about this a lot. Is there, I mentioned, like, what are we developing in humans? So, like, one of the things early on in the Hill Institute's history is, like, what are we really doing? Like, and y'all kind of touched on this a little bit of, like, the KPIs of, like, I could tell you how many startups, I could tell you the stuff, and that's great, and people will understand that, and it looks good in a board report and things. But, like, what are we really doing, and why are we really doing it? And I talked about our mission. I talked about some of that. But the reason that we became a nationally awarded institute is not because we went and benchmarked all these universities and said, let's do what they're doing, but try to do it better. It's like, what are we really doing, and why are we doing it? And for me, it's building what I wish I had when I was in college. And it's building what I know, like, would have helped me a lot, or what I think, we don't get it right, what I think, I should say, would help me a lot. And we try that. Like, we genuinely start there. And I'm convinced, as a father of 5, about to be 6 kids, like so much as you go through life and through traditional educational systems, your creativity just gets crammed down to this little box.
Life crams you down. And
Yeah.
Bills cram you down.
Yeah.
And
So like, how do we unlock? Use the word unlock. That's what made me think of it, Dale. Is like, how do we unlock somebody to like think beyond the barriers of what maybe their circumstances growing up were, or maybe what their educational experience was, maybe like fill in the blank thing, right? Like, how do we help you think bigger? And that's why we have these obnoxiously large letters that we carry everywhere, big. People are always like, what is that? Why do you have that? We want people to always be thinking bigger, go back to thinking bigger, more creatively, all that kind of stuff. And that to me is a huge part of the why for why we exist and why I'm passionate about what we're getting to do is we're seeing real results come from that.
yeah. That's awesome. By the way, I asked Dale, why did I start Advoco?
Because you got tired of working for assholes and you wanted to start a company that you wanted to work for.
I mean, that was
not bad.
I mean, that was my
not bad.
why. My why was I got tired of working for assholes, and finally you just put up or shut up, and I wanted to build a company I wanted to work for. And I remember telling
I love that.
a guy at a development team, and he says, well, what does that mean? You guys going to have like Congo lines at the office? I said, we might. And sure enough, when we crossed like $2 million in revenue at our Christmas party, we did a Congo line.
There you go.
Yeah, that was. But I think it is finding that love and that passion, and y'all's passion for students and helping them be better versions. I mean, couldn't find two greater people for doing it. I think when you hired Eric, I called you up and I just laughed. I was just like, Eric, I've never seen, like, you're on stage and the smile and the energy. I said, I think you found somebody to rival you.
The IGs in the eye.
Purple jumpsuits to do it.
There we go.
Well, I'll ask both of you. So, did you guys come to the Hill Institute because of the money?
Well,
Yes, totally. Next question. Yeah.
But I think, again, when we talk about, I think a lot of people are like, I can make money with this idea, but they don't really care about the process and the people. And it's just, I want to exit in a year, but I have this brilliant idea. And so I think, again, the passion for whatever you're doing, what you said, I started this because I wish I had it. You said I started it because I wish. The reason I do passionate about the people is because my early career, that's what I wish I had, like somebody that kind of walked you through this stuff. So I think when you find your deeper why of not because of salary or money or any of that stuff is when you truly have a chance to be successful.
Totally. And like the money may or may not follow. I feel like I don't know the data. I feel like it probably usually does at some point, but even if it doesn't, like life's not all about that. It's like, did you make an impact in the world and the one chance you had to live it? Like, I want to be able to say, heck yeah. And I want my family to think that's yes, whether that's attached to a specific dollar figure or not. But like, for me, like the other part of my mantra, and Eric and I think share parts of this, is like, we want it to be fun. Like, this is not going to be stuffy at the Hill Institute. And y'all know this. You've been around us. Like, we're going to have fun. We're not going to take ourselves too seriously.
And I go to them, and the way you guys celebrate entrepreneurs and getting them excited and giving them checks and doing stuff like that is, I mean, you all are ambassadors for Greenville. You're ambassadors for Furman. You're ambassadors for entrepreneurship. I mean, couldn't be too better.
This goes back to what you were saying, Marty. It's, 95% of the time, the wind is going to be fiery, blowing in your face, pushing you back, and you're going to be struggling to walk. And at 5%, the wind's at your back, and everything's great, and everything's cool. So how do we celebrate that 5%?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we try to do is be able to we create a culture within the ecosystem where it's okay to fall down because you have 10 people behind you brushing off your knees and saying you can do this.
Marty said earlier, he asked founders, do you want me to be your cheerleader or tell you the truth? What I've noticed from you guys is you guys walk that line perfectly, right? You're going to tell them the truth, but you also, when they do something great, you're going to cheer the heck out of them and give them that love. And I think, again, talk about I wish I had that growing up, right? When you had that, hey, you did something great, you get celebrated, and when you don't, you're going, hey.
We're going to talk about it.
It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just means you're not maybe a fit for this program. But hey, you're great at that. Go do that. So I think you guys really. It's why I love partnering with y'all, because you guys cheerlead, but you tell the truth, and I think what you guys are doing is making a difference. And you mentioned earlier when you started the word, when you were saying we're trying to make these founders, and what I heard is you're making change makers, right? Now that may be change makers because they're starting their own company. It may be they're going into another company, but you're producing change makers.
Yeah.
And every company should want change makers and
Heck
should
yeah.
look to hire change makers.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
May change our tagline.
Yeah, feel free.
Change maker.
Anything else? We've ran a little bit over, but
No, this is great. It's great having you guys, and we got a lot more activities and a lot more fun to go.
There you go.
Bryan, Eric, just for people out there, if they want to get involved with the Hill Institute, whether they're organizations or people, how do they go about just reaching out to y'all and getting involved if they want to get involved?
Bring us home, Eric.
So, so our next program coming up, I don't know when this is going to air, but August 28th, we have our 8th cohort of GVL starts. Woo. We have about 25 founders in the cohort already, and you're welcome to apply. We'll put the link in the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, Bryan, Eric, thank you so much. And again, I know you guys are very, very busy. I also knew this episode would run along with 3 IGs. So I think we did okay considering the circumstances. Great stuff. We look forward to partnering with you guys more in the future and watching what you guys do.
Killer.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
We
guys.
absolutely do too. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys are nice.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.